it's because, again, yeah, I haven't been into -40 Celsius degree weather, but I did spend a winter in Chicago, and it was that
Oh yeah,
thing of, hey, when you go outside, don't take deep breaths. And I was like, why? And I'm
yeah,
like, well, just don't do it, okay? Trust us. I'm like, all right. So then I would go outside and, oh God, oh
try it.
God. Yeah, it's just like just all this ice. And then, I have a beard. My mustache would
Yeah,
instantly be covered in, just like icicles and stuff. And I was just like,
yeah,
all right, this is interesting. Although I was digging it though, because I'm a bigger guy and I run hot in general, so getting
yeah,
cold weather was just a nice change. So
yeah. I totally get it. You get the cooler weather is better for a bigger engine. That's
yeah,
for sure.
exactly. For this Hemi I got,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, exactly.
I always joke I have a 6-pack, but I just keep it well insulated.
That's right. It's in the cooler.
It's in the cooler. Welcome, everybody, to Casting for Two, the podcast, as always, hosted by me, Chris. Welcome, everybody, to episode number 411. Happy New Year. Happy 2021. I took last week off because, honestly, I wanted to take a week off. So sue me. All right? So sue me. Don't sue me. The years started off crazy already. If you guys would like a special episode devoted to what I think, but honestly, if you're following me on Instagram or Twitter, you can probably get my feelings on what happened, what the events that took place earlier this week. And I don't want to get into it because, again, I have a very awesome guest today. But before I tell you who the guest is, once again, message of the podcast: be kind and courteous to each other. We desperately need that right now. And, if you're going to go out, wear a mask. 2 things that were not done earlier this week. And it's the most simplest thing. It takes so much effort to be a mean and horrible person, but it takes 0 effort to just show somebody respect and kindness, and smile. Even though you're wearing a mask, they'll know it. They'll know it. My guest for today is a phenomenal actor, writer, person, just all around good guy. And once again, from my favorite place, Canada. I love Canada. Everybody knows how much I love Canada. Simon Longmore is on the show, and kicking off the new year, I just wanted to have a fun chat, and that's exactly what Simon and I had. But I'm done talking because we need to get into this episode. All right, so everybody, sit back, relax, and Simon, take it away.
Hey, Chris, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm excited for our chat today.
Oh yeah, me too.
Nice. So, how is your day going so far?
So far, so good, man. So far, so good. How about you?
I can't complain. Been doing my social distancing, staying inside, answering emails. So,
Yeah, that's how it works nowadays.
yeah, it's all right. It's
Yeah,
funny. Before this unfortunate event happened, I've that's all I've been doing for the past couple of years, just staying in and doing my emails. So
Yeah.
going outside has never been a problem for me. Just
Right.
I'll stay inside. I'm okay.
You're kind of like an editor. It's like, as these memes go around, and there was one was like, an editor before COVID, and there he is in a dark room, and you're like, after COVID, and here he is in the dark room, the same thing.
Exactly. Editors were best suited for the times that we're in.
That's right. Yeah, they're like, there's a problem out here. What's going on? Too busy cutting. Yeah.
And then somebody came out. Get back to work. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep editing. But so this is a loose show, as you can tell, where we can talk about anything we want. But I am very curious in, I like to know when a certain, the question I've been asking during these times are, we've all been going through this event together, and a lot of stay at home, shelter in place. I'm just wondering for you, having some time off to stay indoors and shelter, have you noticed an uptick in your creativity?
Well, I think that, there's definitely when people are at home, they're like, oh, maybe I'll pick up or dust off my guitar,
Right.
Or maybe I'll read that book. But I also feel that sometimes there's this certain amount of lethargy that also sets in too, where people just, nowadays people have like Netflix and Amazon. They can just go shopping at a fingertips, So I definitely feel that there's some moments of inspiration for sure, and some creativity, but also sometimes where people are just like, like, oh yeah, remember I thought about writing that book, and then you're like, yeah, I'm still thinking about it. So I definitely feel that it's about 50-50.
Gotcha. It's so funny because they're for me personally, I had this whole period of, well, since I can't go out, I've been meaning to upgrade, the lens on my camera, the this on that, on blah, blah, blah. And then it just came to a point where like, oh, I've upgraded everything now, and I can't go outside and use it. So, okay, cool.
Yeah, great. So I'll be ready when we're allowed out. Yeah,
exactly. I'm like, oh well. But as far as filming goes for you, well, first let me back up. Let me just say, when did you catch that initial acting bug?
Well, I think I first got it when I was like a little kid. I think when I was just like I used to watch movies when I was a kid, and I think a lot of people probably felt this way. And I was watching movies like The Scarlet Pimpernel, and Mary Poppins, and
right.
The Good Ship Lollipop or whatever. And I was like, man, I really want to do what these guys are doing here on the TV, and I was like, wow, that sounds like a lot of fun. And then as a kid, I was maybe about 8, and I was kind of, having a moment of existentialism, like, what do I want to do with my life? And I want to be I know it sounds kind of funny, but I wanted to be a pilot or a firefighter, and I was like, well, actually, if I was an actor, I could be all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of it just stuck with me, and as I grew, I'd watch things like Saturday Night Live with Dan Aykroyd and Jim Belushi, and then we kind of go to school, and I try to reenact the sketch from the day before, and it was just always exploring that and being exposed to it. And then as I got into a teenager, I had a little bit more of my own self-determinism, and so in high school I really started just selecting drama classes. So it was kind of an easy choice over learning French. I was like, Excusez-moi while I go into the drama program. And, of course, all the girls were in the drama program, so
Right.
it was pretty easy.
Where did you grow up? What part of Canada?
In Vancouver.
Oh, okay. So you're a British
Yeah.
Columbian through and through.
Actually, I'm originally from England.
England.
And,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm an import, and I grew up in Vancouver mostly, but I did spend a few years in Alberta.
Oh, okay.
My dad was a crane operator, so he worked in northern Alberta for a few years. So we were up there enjoying the frozen tundra,
Mm.
and you don't know what cold is until you hit -40, and it's unbelievable. Like anybody can live
Right.
out there, but we did.
It's because again, yeah, I haven't been into -40 Celsius degree weather, but I did spend a winter in Chicago, and it was that
Oh yeah,
thing of, hey, when you go outside, don't take deep breaths, and I was like, why? And I'm
yeah,
like, well, just don't do it, okay? Trust us. I'm like, all right. So then I would go outside and, oh God, oh
right.
God. Yeah, it's just like just all this ice. And then, I have a beard. My mustache would
Yeah,
instantly be covered in, just like icicles and stuff. And I was just like,
yeah,
all right, this is interesting. Although I was digging it though, because I'm a bigger guy and I run hot in general, so getting
yeah,
cold weather was just a nice change. So
yeah. I totally get it. You get the cooler weather is better for a bigger engine. That's
yeah,
for sure.
exactly. For this Hemi I got,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, exactly.
I always joke I have a 6-pack, but I just keep it well insulated.
That's right. It's in the cooler.
It's in the cooler. uh,
Yeah.
as far as acting goes, did did you ever get a chance to go to England and do some acting over there, or?
I haven't yet.
Okay.
I've been to England a few times, and I have my citizenship and all that good stuff. I just the times that I've been there, I've never really had an opportunity to kind of like fully flesh it out because and being a citizen is great, but then also you got to get like your social insurance number for that area,
Right.
that country, and then of course you got to go out and beat down doors and literally, although I have credentials and a demo reel and all that stuff, you're still just brand new. So and it's a pretty big city, so just unless you have a big hit movie coming out, it's a bit of a task to make a splash and to kind of get known because all the casting directors have to learn who you are.
Right. It's
Yeah.
yeah, or because I have friends that went to school up in England, and like like that's there people say, oh, you make it in New York or L.A. or Vancouver, all these places as an actor you can make it anywhere, but I'm just like, if you can make it in England where like theater is like very prestigious up there, like that's when I'm like, yeah, I feel like you could make it anywhere if you make it there.
Yeah, it's true, and it's pretty densely populated too. I think we have
Yeah.
something like 88 million people on this tiny island, and it's like, and of course everybody, it's kind of like putting L.A. and New York into one state.
Right.
Yeah.
Jeez. Um, but as again, going with acting and finding your inspiration. So in doing drama, did you? I watched a little bit of your short film, and there are awkward comedic elements to it that I really enjoyed. When did you go back and like say, I want to play around with comedy versus drama?
Well, the thing is, I've always kind of been kind of like this quirky, oddball kind of comedic guy.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, and I think that comes from a couple of different places. One is that in England and being British, they have a tendency to kind of rely on wit
Correct.
and wordplay and stuff like that. And then of course, my dad was really quite comedic, and he would tell these funny. He was actually quite enchanting as a storyteller, and so obviously every boy wants to be like his father, and so I would just kind of do impressions of what he did, and then once again just kind of touching back to watching guys like on Saturday Night Live or Benny Hill or Dave Allen at large, how these guys would tell jokes and stuff. And actually, I dabbled in stand-up comedy for a little bit as well. Mm-hmm. And so I think comedy was, something that I kind of fell into first, I think.
Gotcha. Okay. Do you, being an actor, do you find yourself that, your comedy informs your dramatic, preparation towards a role, or vice versa?
I think that they're both kind of just. It's kind of like two different styles of painting, really. I think it's like one is kind of more like oil, and the other would be, that kind of stuff that Monet does. Obviously, I'm not very artistic, that impressionist stuff, So yeah. I think it's very they cross over, but they're kind of very specific in what they are. So. I have a tendency to always kind of bring out the comedic in everything I do, I think.
Okay.
I think, yeah.
No, sorry, go on.
Yeah, I just think it's just kind of one of those things. I just, I enjoy making people laugh. It's just kind of like, I just, putting a smile on people's face and making them laugh and just thinking, oh, man, that's funny. I don't know. It's something I enjoy doing.
Okay. Do you ever have that? I know Robin Williams was, pretty famous for, if he was doing a funny comedic movie, at the end of a take, he would be just kind of quiet and neutral, versus when he was doing a dramatic movie, he was zany and off the wall after they said cut. For you, does it take a like after you do something funny, or a long day of being zany and wacky, do you have to take a minute for yourself and just like, I just need to chill because I'm tired of being funny, or is it just like, hey, just any other day?
Well, I think that it's each performer is different, and I think that Robin Williams had his own demons that he had to kind of deal with, and. Yeah, and then for me, like when I'm working, I depending on which role I'm playing, if I have like a more of a supporting role, I have a tendency to kind of like be a little bit more playful on set, because I don't have to carry the scenes. Yeah. I'm there to prop up the lead, so I'll be a little bit more playful and stuff, but if I'm the lead in the show, you have a responsibility, and not just to be the lead, but you actually have to lead the show. So you have to be the first one on set. You have to be the one that's ready to shoot first. You're the one that's leading by example. And so there's definitely times to have lightheartedness in there, and to keep things like having a giggle and stuff. And depending on what it is I'm shooting, if I'm doing something really dramatic, I usually try to stay kind of with that tone until we finished shooting, and because it's kind of hard to kind of break out of that and go back into that kind of darker, kind of melancholy type tone, and then snap out of it and be like, "Hey, how you doing?" and then kind of go back into it. I have a little bit of difficulty with that, so I try to keep it really kind of like. Until we're done. And then once we're done, we can kind of put the air back in the balloons and have some fun.
No, I get, I've always admired actors for many reasons, but the idea of being able to, or having to do, open yourself up to certain emotions and stuff like that, and also recalling it and also having to deal with somebody saying, cut, do it again. It's
Yeah.
got to be super stressful, especially in, depending on the subject matter, of course, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's always the duress. I think mostly comes in the fact that you only have a certain amount of time to do it.
Right.
So if doing it over and over again, I don't think it's really that stressful. But it's like we have 12 minutes to shoot the next 4 pages.
Yeah.
So go.
Go
stop.
now.
Yeah.
Be good.
And you're like, yeah, don't be good, be great. Be great. There's no pressure, just be great. Yeah. Yeah.
Going back to the when you were younger and watching SNL and recreating the skits the next day, in your group of friends, were you the one? Did you have a group of friends that understood your comedy bone, or were you kind of the odd man out?
No, I think no, I think I had I think if people didn't understand my sense of humor, then they kind of just went by the wayside. I think that eventually everybody kind of that was in my circle of friends all appreciated the sense of humor and then also participated in it in their own way. So some guys would just participate by laughing. Other guys would kind of, participate in the recreation of the sketch. Other guys would add to it, and other guys would just, maybe make comments that were humorous. Everybody would participate in their own way, but it's definitely, yes. You find out who your friends are pretty quickly if nobody's laughing. You're like, oh,
right.
Okay.
Oh, tough crowd here. All right.
Yeah. It must be you must be Ukrainian night tonight. Okay.
All right, I'll stick to the fart jokes, kids. All right, here we go.
Yeah. Here we go. Cabbage rolls. Okay.
It's so funny because I always felt like in my group of friends, even going back from elementary school, I was always the kid who, had not the weird sense of humor, but the stuff I would watch was out of character. I remember discovering the Three Stooges at a young age and would go to school and like act like Curly and say, hey, hit my hand. And they would hit it, and I'd, bring my arm around and bop them on the head. And they would just like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, my bad.
Yeah, it was funny yesterday.
yeah. I mean, dude, there's this guy. He's really funny. He's bald. He goes, nah, nah, nah. Oh, it's hilarious. But and then as I grew up, I still never had that. I had friends, of course, not to brag, but I didn't have those friends that also watched SNL religiously like I did, or slapstick things, and just hearing you talk about it just makes me think, man, I had good friends. Never want to downplay my friends, but I do wish I had that one comedy partner that would be a Moto Larry to my Curly or Shemp.
Yeah, I totally get it. But I think also like my sense of humor got as I grew, it got a little bit more blue collar as well. So I think, teenage boys definitely enjoyed that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, come on, teenage boys.
Yeah, dick and ball jokes. It's till the cows come home.
Exactly. And look, fart. I don't care how old you get. Fart jokes are still funny. A random fart noise, especially if it's one that you haven't heard before, it's like, oh yeah, that's pretty good.
That's a good one.
We're all mature adults, just in case anybody's listening.
Yeah.
But so, and then again, I touched on it a little bit earlier, but you have a short film, Not Your Average Bear.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm curious. I'm curious. A couple things. When did you decide, hey, I want to start actually, doing some shorts of mine, like writing and all that good stuff?
Well, I've actually been making short films for about 20 years, and usually I've made them for my acting students.
Okay.
And I usually, I used to write them and stuff like that. But then, and the last one I did, I directed, but I just didn't feel the satisfaction.
Okay.
I wrote it and I directed and produced it, and I just didn't really get the satisfaction out of it. And so the next one, I was like, I'm going to use it for myself. I'm going to use it for my own acting career.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wrote it, and I produced it with a producing partner, and then I starred in it. So,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just something that I felt that I needed to do as a creative person. So, I've made many short films, and the decision to do this was kind of based on the story itself, because, not everybody is Romeo. Not everybody can play
Right.
Hamlet,
Right.
And so for a character like me, you could kind of, if you watch the film, you'd be like, oh, if this was a feature, I could see Steve Carell doing it.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
it's the film, like, and the thing is, you couldn't put The Rock in that role because it's just not as tight. So you got to kind of, you know what I mean? It's just like,
Yeah.
oh, my.
I'm getting a call from
Kind of,
Dwayne Johnson. He says he wants to do it. Oh no.
yeah, exactly. We're like, sorry, Dwayne, it's not going to happen. You're gonna have to cut about 50 pounds of muscle.
Yeah. Get rid of all your
Yeah,
muscles and maybe you have a shot.
yeah, and then grow your afro. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Um, so you got too much afro. We're gonna have to
Yep.
put a
Yep.
hole in it in the back.
Yeah.
We're gonna cut a hole in it. So it's really about like finding a role that me as an actor could shine in, and something that it isn't like when you look at me and you see me walking down the street, you'd be like, oh, that's just a regular guy. And so you want to cast somebody in a role where they fit the suit, and it doesn't look like they have to do a lot of acting. And so that's where, that's why I cast myself in that role. And I just wanted to, do a good job with it. I've made a lot of films for a lot of other people to help them with their careers. And so I finally said, I'm just going to do it for myself this time.
Mm-hmm. And it must be, not to speak for yourself, but it must be nice to write something for yourself because ultimately, yourself and you know where to take things, where you want to push yourself, certain things. It's like you pretty much. So
Yeah. 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 It was very satisfying. And also, if you notice, there's no action scenes and there's no, make-out scenes or anything like that. I didn't write the film, with this gratuitous kind of like, okay, now he goes into the strip club and the strippers are all over him. That doesn't happen. Even when he does the robbery, it's quite awkward and he's fumbling through it. So, and that's kind of part of by design is that, I've seen many people make their own films and then all of a sudden they're this kind of like pseudo James Bond, and you're like, dude, you look like Jack Black, and Jack Black is not James Bond.
Right,
Jack
right.
Black is Nacho Libre. That's how it works for him.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
and so yeah.
It's so funny because, I haven't been writing short films as long as you have, but it's been about 10 years of just, I like the idea of putting a good amount of story in like 10, 15 pages. There's something really satisfying as just trying to convey a full story in that amount of time versus,
Yeah.
90 pages, 120, something like that.
Yeah.
And yet still have that feeling of everybody knows, oh, I know this character, or I see his growth, stuff like that. So that's why I'm so interested in talking with you and just picking your brain about short films because I think there need to be more short films, more not mainstream short films, but more of them.
Yeah, I agree. As long as they're done well, the
Yes.
stories are poignant, then that's important. Nobody wants to watch like some self-indulgent navel gazing. That's not any fun.
Right, right. For the short film, was it, again, since this project is, written by you, starring you, was it hard finding, a director that was going to not only service the project, but you had a lot of confidence in working on this, since it's, essentially your baby.
Yeah, he was a friend of mine that we've worked together a few times over the last 20 years, and he flew up from L.A. to shoot this, and when we gave him the script the first time, he was like, "Yeah, this is great," and then he started making some suggestions about, "Hey, let's try this or let's try that," and I was like, actually, the script is locked. It is the way it is, and we're just going to shoot what's on the script. And he was like, "Okay, no problem." And so therefore, it was what it was, where it's not open for interpretation. But how he shot it, that was entirely up to him. Obviously he needed to get a couple of shots like, hey, we need to have the driving scene,
Right.
or we need to be in the mall. Those are kind of like mandatory type stuff. But how he did it, how he told the story visually, that was totally his creation.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of like let him off the leash to do whatever he needed to do.
Nice. It's always nice
Yeah.
when you find somebody you trust, and who can,
Yeah.
go beyond what your expectations were. So that's always wonderful.
Yeah, really did a great job with the film.
Nice. As
Yeah.
far as, if there's one thing I love on the podcast, it's a good audition fail.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's the number one thing I hear after asking that question. No, or saying that. I'm just wondering if you have an audition fail you would like to share.
Man, I have so many. I mean, I pick a topic. I mean, one that comes to mind right now is I remember I was playing a character who was kind of like this. He was kind of like this techie, kind of geeky guy, and he was eating like a Subway sandwich, like a foot long, Dagwood or something, And I'm like, oh, okay, this is great. I'm actually going to go to Subway and get a sandwich, take it into the audition. So I walk in there and I got this sandwich, and it's like this big foot long, and it's like made the way I like it because I'm going to eat it, after the audition. And so I'm doing my audition, and I open this thing up, and it stinks, right? It stinks like a toasted, cheese melted, Dagwood. And I'm like, oh, yeah, blah, blah. And I hadn't really rehearsed with the prop. So I'm in the audition, and then I take a big bite of the Subway sandwich, and it's toasted, right? So it's like, it's just the first bite. So I just kind of get the corner of it. And it's just all dry. It's just like, so I'm like basically eating like a giant crouton.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to speak, and I'm trying to stay serious, and you can just see the casting director and the writer and the producer and everybody in the room, they're all like, and they're starting to snicker, and I'm like, oh, yeah. And then I just basically started, like, choking on the sandwich. And then, of course, I'm like, oh, and they're like, oh, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, and I'm choking, I'm coughing, and my eyes are watering, and I'm like, oh, is there any water in the room? And they're like, no, we don't have any water. So basically I had to kind of like, kind of put the sandwich down and then try the scene again. And then, of course, at the moment where I'm supposed to eat the sandwich, I mimed it. And, of course, they started snickering again because they just remembered me choking on the giant crouton portion of the. Yeah. And so, anyway, I didn't get that job, but I gave them a good laugh. And, of course, I just went back to my car and ate my sandwich in shame. you know.
Of course. It'd be funny if you
Yeah.
just threw the sandwich away and vowed never to eat sandwiches again.
Yeah, well, yeah, so that would be a bit dramatic. I do have another one too, where the guy was like, "Oh, I'm here auditioning for the Killer Clown," and he's like, "Oh yeah, did you got your clown outfit?" And I'm like, no. I go, but I left it at home. And he's like, "Yeah, you want to go get it?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't know I needed my clown outfit." That was another embarrassing moment. I don't know if he was just playing with me or what. No, I don't.
Oh, I was going to say.
That was my I was just like, oh, yeah, I left it at home. I didn't know I needed the clown outfit.
It's so funny that, I'm not saying every audition's like this. And in fact, I don't even audition. Let me just throw that out there. So I'm not the person to ask this. But a lot of people must pay a lot of money for props and costumes, and at the end of the day, they don't get the role. That's got to be heartbreaking.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely things like that. But there's also, there's also actors that go get an outfit and they leave the price tag on, and, and then they take it back. But there's also times where you see them in the purple jumpsuit, and the tag is under their armpit, and they're doing the scene, and then they come out and they're like, oh, I better take this back, So there's plenty of things like that where people do spend money on their costume, but they also take it back. It's kind of like a running joke in acting.
Gotcha. If I bought a purple jumpsuit and the price tag accidentally came off, you better believe I'm going to every audition in a purple jumpsuit. It's like, look, I paid good money for this, and I don't care. Yeah. I'm going in.
This is a $38 winner purple jumpsuit. This is like pure audition gold right here. Like,
do you know how many Subway sandwiches I could have gotten for this jumpsuit?
Yeah, like 4.5. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly.
But Simon, for the people at home who want to, keep up with everything that you're doing, see the show, or just, tell you how awesome you are. Where can they do all that?
You can definitely find me on Facebook. I have some fan pages there, and if you want to follow my career, you can follow me on IMDb, and also I have an Instagram account as well, so you can definitely track me down and on social media.
Nice. Thank you, Simon, so much for chatting with me. Anytime you want to, chat about goofy stuff, just let me know. I'd be happy to have you back.
Oh, man, I'd love to. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I'll let you go, but, I hope you stay safe and stay healthy, all right?
Yeah, likewise. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.